This is the London Marathon. Whoa, okay. This is the London Marathon recap. Got to start it the right way. Gonna throw on the official race shirt. Ooh. Let's go. Okay, I'm recapping my 2025 London Marathon. It was an incredible experience. This video is for anybody who is planning to run the London Marathon and wants to know more about the course, logistics, etc. Anybody who maybe didn't get into London in the recent ballot wants to hear how I got in and strategies how you can get in. And this is for anybody who might be interested in how I did in London. Gotten a few questions about how the race went, so I want to talk through it all. I want to keep this video brief. This is my second time filming this, actually. The first time I filmed it with a camera and then my phone as the microphone, which I thought would lead to great quality, and for some reason it was atrocious. It was really, really bad. It was something like this, and then I was talking. So that footage is unusable, obviously. So learning from that, I just want to keep this really simple. I want to provide high level, really useful points to help you crush the London Marathon, help you get into the London Marathon, whatever it is you're trying to do. So let's talk through it. First and foremost, I know the London Marathon ballot results, I think, were released today. It's June 19th right now. So if you didn't get into the London Marathon, first of all, I'm sorry. I've applied. I applied, I think, 4 years running, did not get in, and it's extremely difficult to get in. I heard they set a record for most applications for the marathon in history. It was like 1.2 million applications. And when you're talking about, for about 40,000 spots, you can do the math. It's an extremely low percentage of chance of you getting in. That's just the reality. So the way I figured it, it was about a 4 or 5% chance of getting in. Statistically, that's getting in once every 20 years. That just wasn't an option for me, and I really wanted to do the race. So let's start there. Where else can you go? What other avenues can you use to get into the race? I personally used a international tour operator. I think it was, I honestly don't even know what it was. Sports Tour International, maybe. They are great. It's obviously much more expensive. All said and done, it was about $4,000 for hotel and bib. Not ideal. But I looked at it as an experience. I looked at it as, frankly, a once-in-a-lifetime experience and a price I was willing to pay. You can also go the charity route. London is a huge charity race. They raise a ton of money for a lot of great causes. Charities fill up really fast, though. And when I was looking to get in, after I found out I didn't get into the ballot, most charities I reached out to were full or had massive fundraising goals like $10,000. I've fundraised in the past for Ironman, and I found $2,500 really difficult to reach. So $10,000, I was a little scared, and you do pay the difference of whatever you don't fundraise. So it's could be a pretty raw deal if you don't have some wealthy friends, family, or people in your network. All that to say, I went the international tour way, and for U.S. citizens, I don't know of other ways to get in. Moving on. Let's say you got in the race. Get my train of thought here. You got in the race. Let's talk about the race now. So I'll start with logistics. I'll go into my race day, how I prepared, and how it went ultimately. I'll put all segments down below, so you can feel free to fast forward, jump around, anything but, exit the video. You know what I'm saying? All right. Logistics. We're coming from Denver, Colorado. We left Denver on Wednesday night. So we got a 6 p.m. direct flight from Denver to London Heathrow. We landed at about 11 a.m. on Thursday. And to me, that was the perfect time to get there. I was extremely tired on Thursday night. I don't think I fought the jet lag well or strategized well around that. I slept on the plane like a little bit. We tried to stay up until about 8 p.m. on Thursday, which we did. And then I was out like a light I slept great on Thursday night. I slept horrible on Friday night, which I think is part of the rhythm of jet lag. But by Saturday and then Sunday to race, I was fine. So I think Thursday was ample time to get there. We stayed in the Kensington Garden area near Hyde Park. It was a beautiful area. It was only 2 or 3 train stops from all the major scenery that you're going to see in London, like Big Ben, Parliament, the Eye, and that St. James Station, which was also Buckingham Palace, the finish line of the race. So it couldn't have worked out better where we stayed as well. The hotel we stayed in was called 100 Queensgate, and again, it was provided by the tour operator. Probably wouldn't stay there again, if I'm being honest, if you're looking at that place. Just tiny shoebox hotel rooms. And I was kind of expecting for how much coin we dropped to have like a little more of an elevated experience. It was still a great hotel in a great area, and I'm thankful for it. That's pretty much logistics of getting to London, where we stayed, all that. And it couldn't have went any better, in my opinion. Let's get on to the race, man, because the race is fun and interesting and was the highlight of the trip. Where do we even start with this? I knew I should have had notes. I don't want to waste people's time here. All right, let's start with race day. First and foremost, the race is a late start. So it started at around 9:30, 9:45, which is very late for some folks, who are used to 6 a.m., 7 a.m. starts. Doing Boston 3 times, Boston's also a late start around 10 a.m. I really prefer those mornings. So how it looked for me was I sleep in. I slept till about 6:30. I had breakfast, which was my classic, just like 3 packets of pre-made oatmeal, banana, and sport drinks. So I like Tailwind. It has electrolytes, carbohydrates. All in all, I'm probably taking in around 7 a.m., 150 grams of carbohydrates. I always say, and it's like a feel thing for me, I don't want to be stuffed, but I want to be full, for sure. I took snacks with me to the start line. So I had another banana, I had more sport drink, and some water. They give you a disposable bag, actually like a go bag that I checked there. I was planning on taking the train to the start line, and there's a route, you can get there pretty easy. It takes about 50 minutes, and the London Underground's amazing. When I walked out the hotel, our tour group actually had a bus, a charter bus. So I was like, oh, I'll hop on this. It actually wasn't a great idea because there were so many buses going to the start line. Everybody's going to the same place, that it was highly congested. And we just sat, and it probably took like an hour and a half when it's all said and done. The one huge positive of that was there was a bathroom in the bus. So I was able to go to the bathroom while on the bus, which obviously I wouldn't have been able to do in the subway unless I wanted to get arrested. That was a good one. So we get to the start line. Like I said, bus was just a little stalled. So that was a little stressful. But again, control what you can on these race days. I didn't try to worry about it too much. Got to the start line. There's 3 different start lines. I was in the blue start line, which was, I put my anticipated finish time as under 3 hours, which is another kind of like little bugaboo we're going to get to here in a sec. The start line was insane. I've never seen so many people just in a giant park in my life. I'll throw I think I have a video from the morning. Crazy. But it was well done. I had a go bag that I had a lot of stuff in. I had sweats on, hoodie on, and I was able to just put it all off, put it in the go bag, give it to the folks, and then I picked it up at the finish line. So it was also awesome to have like a change of clothes and my cell phone at the finish line, because I don't run with my phone. So a little different there. I usually have to link up with my family by grabbing somebody's phone, calling from a random number, texting, and it's a big thing. Anyway, here's where the race advice starts. Is, from my knowledge, you put for the London Marathon, for your seeding or what wave or corral you're in, just your anticipated finish time. I never put in a previous race as far as I remember. And so what that looks like is everyone who's under 3 hours and just says, I anticipate to finish under 3 hours, is put into one big group. And I was in that group. So when they start calling that group to line up at the start line, I kind of was getting a warm up in, stretching, relaxing. I got there like towards the back, and I think I paid for it. I don't know if getting to the front of the line would have helped. A guy standing right next to me, I saw him at the finish line. He ran 2:43. So you still can run fast times being near the back. But what I will say is it was extremely congested. And when I say congested, I don't mean for like 2, 3, 4 miles like I've experienced at Boston and Chicago. It was congested for literally 13, 14 miles. And I think truly, truly that hampered my time a little bit, where I just felt not so much that I was what's the word I'm looking for? Just keeping energy in the first half. It was more like I'm running slower than I feel like I should be. And it wasn't banking energy. That's what I'm looking for. I wasn't, of course, I probably banked some energy to run a little faster second half, but you're burning energy as is. I think I probably could have run 3 to 5 seconds faster per mile, had more of a desirable halfway point time, and then run the same second half, maybe cut off a minute or two off my finish time. So that's where I'll start if you're running the London Marathon, is just to understand, accept, and then do whatever you can to control the congestion that you will face for the first 6 to 12+ miles of the race. You run down some narrow streets. When you get to like the Cutty Sark at mile 6, it gets very narrow. And then you have all these people jamming into this narrow spot. And I was fighting, honestly, frustration, which I don't get frustrated in races. Usually I'm like happy to be here, having a good time. But truly, I mean, you just get boxed in so many times with slower runners, and it's difficult. And you have to kind of like weave, and you're trying not to weave to burn energy. It was a balance for sure, and an active patience. But I would just recommend, when they call your wave, getting there, towards near the front of your wave, so that you can run your pace and not be worried about, being slowed down. All that to say, I came through halfway. So I guess we're kind of blending race advice with my race now. I came through halfway at 1:25:40. And going into this race, my goal was sub 250. That's what I wanted to run, which you can do the math, obviously, 125, 125 splits. I have run one sub 250 marathon. Previously, it was 2:46:40. No, sorry, 2:46:56 at Chicago in the fall. I had a pretty, I don't want to say lackluster because that's not the word, but I just had a very busy winter and spring with work, being away from Katie and my family, traveling a ton for work, something in the range of 20 to 30 work trips. And training was just extremely difficult. And I maintained pretty good fitness. I had some weeks back in Colorado where I had excellent long runs, but I knew going into this race, probably not my peak fitness. I fought in training, but just not quite, wasn't stringing together these great, 60, 70 mile weeks like I wanted to. So that's okay. I was like, I'm going to give it a go. I knew I had a large foundation of fitness that I've been growing for the last 3-4 years. And I was just hopeful like I could run hard and run a good race. So obviously it's pretty deflating when your goal is 250, you come through halfway at 1:25:40. You're just doing the math, and it's very simple. You realize like I have to run the second half faster than the first half, and like much faster. You have to run basically a minute faster on the second half to get this goal. So it's kind of a gut check time, which is fun. I mean, at the end of the day, like that's why I do these races, right? And I was like, all right. I remember saying to myself, like, it's going to be a gutsy second half. Like, you're going to have to, gutsy second half. And it finally started to thin out around mile 14. I was able to finally get my stride and feel like, all right, now I'm running. And that's what gave me a little boost with that slower first half for me, is I understood I was running slower than I wanted to during that whole first half. So I'm like, all right, if we just run your race the second half, you're going to get it. But I knew I had to pick it up a little bit. So 6:30 is about 250 pace. I was like, all right, it's got to be like 6:25. And I was just clipping away miles, great pace. And I knew I was getting closer and closer to that goal time. I had a really weird mile at mile 20 It was like randomly like a 650 mile, which is like absurdly high when you're clipping like 620, 625s. I still don't know what happened. Maybe I just lost focus a little bit and got behind somebody and didn't really realize how slow I was going. I remember in the race, as weird as it sounds, being like, I had to cross the, like the next mile marker already. I was like, I had to. You kind of have like this sixth sense of how fast you're going and when miles should be happening. And I was like, I must have just not seen it. And then about 30 seconds, a minute later, I saw the next mile marker and I was like, that was the longest mile of my life. That was crazy. Turns out I was just running slow and that's why it didn't come. So I don't know what happened there still. I'm trying to think through it and I just have like no memory of it. So really weird anomaly mile there. Other than that, I was cranking, got to about, 5K left, had some juice and just was able to push it. Fastest 5K of the race. It was a sub 25K. I think it was like 19:30 or so. Great pace. And, it's pretty cool. It gives me like actually goosebumps right now. Like looking at your watch, you see the total time, it's going to be really close. And I'm running down in St. James Park on the side near Buckingham Palace. And I know I'm getting close. I'm getting like goosebumps in my whole body. And you see it, your watch is at whatever, 2:48. And you're just like, I'm not fucking missing this. I'm not fucking coming up short here. And so pushing and passing people, which is so, kind of gives you a little energy. You feel good. And I remember just making that turn around Buckingham Palace. You basically run down the park, you make a full turn, like it's a big turn, see Buckingham Palace, and then you finish on like the iconic finish. And it was just incredible. Gosh, I'm getting whole body goosebumps here while my hair's standing up. Truly an incredible race. My kind of like negatives would just be the congestion at the start. That was something I'd never experienced. Most every race, it would thin out pretty quickly, 3-4 miles. This just did not. And that's okay. It was an incredible experience. You run by Big Ben, you run by the Eye, you run by the Cutty Sark, you run over Tower Bridge, which was like, dare I say, the most incredible marathon experience I've had to date. It's right up there with in Boston, right on Hereford, left on Boylston. It's right up there with that. Gosh, I get emotional here. So all that to say, I ran 2:49:40 at London. I was so proud of my effort. I was so proud after that first half to bounce back, have a, much faster negative split second half, sub 250, only my second sub 250 marathon ever. And especially with just the ups and downs of the last 6 months of training and just a very imperfect training block, which I've had dialed in training blocks and I've had imperfect training blocks. And, at the end of the day, I've still showed up on race day, given my best. Sometimes it sucked big time. This year at London, it did not suck. And it was fantastic. A couple things that I did on course that I think really, really helped. The biggest one is another kind of quirk about London is the spacing of their water stations and their like sport drink and gel stations. I've only ever run Boston and Chicago as major marathons. Both of those, they're having water and Gatorade about every single mile of the race, which is huge. I drink a lot. I take a lot in throughout the race. And I think that's part of the big reason. Like I've never really bonked other than my first marathon, so like I kind of learned from that and I take in a lot of both fluid, carbs, and electrolytes during a race. So I rely on that stuff on course a lot. I carry gels with me, but I'm not running with a water bottle the entire time. Seeing the spacing of at London, I think it was water like every 2 to 3 miles, which is pretty spread out. You do the math, it's like every 20 minutes you're seeing water stations versus even just like grabbing and like a little splash in your mouth helps a lot sometimes. And then this was the weird one. They do Lucozade Sport. The Lucozade is like Gatorade, British Gatorade, was like every like 7 miles or something. It was really, or there was like 2 or 3 on the entire course. That doesn't really work for me. Especially, I think the first one was like pretty late, like mile 14 or something. So what I did is I had my friends and family, shout out Corinne and Will. Corinne, head bottle guy, Will, assistant bottle guy, director of bottle logistics. They were at about mile 7 with a bottle of carb mix. So carb electrolytes, 75 grams and about 20 milliliters of water. So I snagged that from them. That was huge, just to kind of front load those carbs, stay ahead of them, and just stay ahead of liquid and electrolytes. I had another bottle at like mile 14 that they handed off to me. Same thing, grabbed that. I feel like I didn't need it as much, but still super helpful. So I would just keep that in mind. I think that's a challenging part of the course, is just not having as much access that you might be used to from, like I said, a Chicago, Boston. I would have to guess New York is the same. I don't know. Another aspect of the race this past year was it was hot. It was really, really hot. And that's kind of another factor that plays into the, sub 250 and my feelings about how happy I was with that. Is we're standing at the start line, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm in just my tights and singlet, which I ended up even taking off because I was just hot. I was like, it's hot out. And normally, I mean, I've stood at Boston start lines, Chicago start lines where I'm still in my hoodie, and I'm like keeping that on even at the start of the race, and I'm taking it off 2-3 miles in. It was about 60-ish degrees at start, sun beating down, and it got hotter. It got probably up to high 60s. And yeah, it was toasty. It was a toasty run. But like I said, stayed on hydration and nutrition, and I was solid. Last thing, I know there was one more thing. Oh, the course itself, if you're running London, is solid. I mean, it's a PR course. It's super flat, super fast. It's, I think, a net downhill when it's all said and done. There's a decent sized hill at mile 3, but nothing really, I hardly noticed it. There's really not a lot of planning that goes into the race course wise. It's mostly flat, a little bit of rollers, nothing crazy. And I think the biggest thing you can prepare for is the congestion, and then trying to figure out a way through that, maybe getting to the front of your corral. End of the day, man, that's really it. I had a super positive race, super positive experience. I like it. It sounds, it's like a duh, but like, of course, I'd recommend this to anybody. And I think it's, for me, it was a once in a lifetime experience to share with my friends and family, who I'm so appreciative came, and just an unbelievable experience all around. Thank you, London Marathon, for making it so great. Thank you for making everything so easy. Hopefully I'll be back. I would really love to do it again. And yeah, that's really it for the London Marathon recap. Sorry this took so long to get out. The marathon was like a month and a half ago, 2 months out, but 2 months ago. But happy it's coming out while these lottery results are coming. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments. I'm happy to answer any of them. And you can also find me on Instagram, same handle, Nicky B. Holler. I'd love to chat about it. I love just talking through these things. And yeah, best of luck. Hopefully you got in. All right, that's all. Thanks for watching. Peace. Holla!